Hi, this is Neil, and this is our special guest,
Joyce.
and we are
Nerds Over 40.
We've got Amy off screen over here doing the producer thing, but we wanted to, for our very special Murderbot episode, we wanted to have Joyce in because she's a huge Murderbot fan, and she happens to be visiting us. Why are you visiting us, Joyce?
Oh, my birthday's coming up, and thought, why not? I got invited up here, so I'm having a good time chilling.
Heck
and we
yeah.
go out at night, so yeah.
All right. Good times have been had by all so far.
Yes.
We went to see a comedian last night.
Very good.
Kathleen
very funny.
Madigan. It was great. But anyway, our special topic this week is Murderbot. Now, just for a little bit of background on Murderbot, the book was written by Martha Wells. And Martha Wells is actually an author I've been following for close to 30 years. I first read her book, City of Bones, back in like the mid-90s. It came out in 95. I don't know whether I read it in 95, 96. It all blurs together, right?
Yeah.
It's 30 years ago, for God's sake. And then The Element of Fire is also an excellent book. And she wrote some others, but just those are two books that I recommend that she's written, besides the Murderbot Diaries, I think is what they're kind of calling the whole series.
Murderbot Diaries.
How did you find out about the books?
I was at my son's doctor's appointment, and a gentleman was reading the book, the actual book.
Ooh.
And yeah, I know. And he would just out of nowhere just do this little and I was kind of like, what? And I looked over him twice, and he said, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. He said, I'm just reading a funny book. And I was like, well, what's it called? He goes, All Systems Red. I was like, doesn't sound very funny. He goes, it's about a robot that's supposed to be, it calls itself Murderbot. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let me see the book. Screenshot it, ordered it on Amazon. And it was
well, it's interesting
read.
Because your response sounds kind of similar to Alexander Skarsgård.
Yes.
When he was first offered the part, right?
Yes. He did a Collider interview this year in June. And he said that when he first received the script, he thought, oh no, I've been typecasted. Because, the Norseman. And then I think the other movie was Infinity Pool. Something to that effect. And he just said it was very dark. And he thought, oh God, I've been, this is like a Terminator movie. And his casting agent said, no, you really need to read this. And, after the first page, he was already doing the, I want in on this. And he also became a producer during the series. Like right before the series started, he wanted to become a producer on the series.
And all right, so Murderbot himself, or Sec Unit, is kind of what they call him in the show. He's kind of a cyborg, right? He's got squishy organic parts.
He's a cyborg, but he's able to access different ports. He's able to access feeds, and he's actually pretty intuitive.
Well, he's a hacker.
Yeah, but he's also pretty intuitive when you look at him. Like when you really think about how he's able to like think ahead and process compared to the other bots who are still covered by their governor module.
Yeah, so
he's able to think outside the box.
Murderbot is able to hack his governor module, which is a program that forces him to obey humans, right? And obey his programming. He hacks that so that he can disregard it. I think of that as kind of analogous to the restraining bolts that they used in Star Wars, right?
Yep.
That's R2 is able to run off into the desert because he gets Luke to remove his restraining bolt.
Yep.
And that's kind of what sort of kicks off. That's really when Murderbot is born, is when he hacks that.
Yep. Because then he's able to like really look at things differently, and then we find out our favorite Murderbot is into shows.
Yes, he's a nerd too. He has his passions. He downloads thousands of hours of high quality media content, high quality content.
Oh yeah.
And what's the name of the show that he's into?
The Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Move.
And one of the most fun things I think about the series is that it's one of those where there's a show inside the show.
Yes.
And we've seen it a few times in other things, but the show that he's watching is Sanctuary Moon, and it's got actors. It's got some great actors just hamming it up.
Yes.
They're channeling their inner Shatner. You've got John Cho, who was from the Star Trek reboot in 2009. Also, he was Harold on Harold and Kumar, right? That is range right there.
Yes, that is. Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg, yes, Agent Coulson. And then who's the blonde guy?
I think it's James or Jack McBrayer.
That sounds about right. But you see him around on a bunch of stuff. He was Penny's brother on The Big Bang Theory.
Yep.
And he also hosts Zillow Gone Wild. Thank you, off-screen Amy. Appreciate it. We need a third person off-screen all the time.
Party. Yeah.
And the navigation unit was played by
DeWanda Wise.
Yeah, so I think she's the only one who I really didn't
recognize her either.
know. But anyway, they look like they're having a great time, and it really makes the show fun, I think.
Oh, definitely.
And the thing that kind of blows my mind is, as I'm watching it, and I'm like, Murderbot is into sci-fi, right? No, he's not.
He is absolutely not.
Well, that is current fiction, right?
He's fascinated by the characters, especially between the navigation unit and the captain, their relationship. He doesn't admit it, but he's like kind of fixated on it.
So, yeah, he is fascinated by the relationship between the navigation unit and John Cho's character,
the captain.
Yeah. But it's also kind of weird because he really doesn't like squishy human parts.
No, he does not.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of a guy I used to work with who was gay talking about women. He just no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And not only that, but just actively turned off by it, which is mind-blowing to me.
Like one of our favorite quotes. Yes, talk to Murderbot about its feelings. I read that and I was like, I did the same thing that the gentleman did at the hospital. Like, it just out of nowhere. I love this.
And the thing I think the funny thing about Murderbot is he's a robotic and sort of organic mixture, but also I think it really exposes part of the human element, though.
Yes.
It kind of shows us, because I personally think that if you've ever worked in personal or in customer service, or if you've ever worked with other people, or if you've worked for a big corporation, there's going to be a part of Murderbot that you're like, I know how he feels.
You can relate.
Yeah, because
but that was a big thing too, because remember, most sec units, or at least all that we can tell, don't take off their armor. He was the only one that took it off. Because remember the scene where they're in the ditch, the hole, and he's having to like tell what's his name, Valescu, I know I'm totally pronouncing the name wrong, but he's asking him like get up, and he has to tell her like, please come with me.
That's
and he
right.
takes the helmet
He had
off.
to retract
he
his
has
helmet.
to like humanize himself, and they're on camera like, I didn't even know it had a face. And so he's helping her up, talking to her, calming her down, getting her up there. And that was the first time that they saw him as anything other than
as a robot. And that, of course, that alarmed Dr.
Grothin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. These names are going to kill us.
I know. I can remember his name.
But it's... And the funny thing is that, like, we've always seen robots who wanted to be human, like Data wanted to be human. He doesn't want to be human. He just wants to be left alone. He just wants to watch his high-quality content.
I know.
And just maybe he'll talk about it with somebody. But that's... And I don't know. There are times I can relate to that. It's like, I don't want to be here at work today. I just want to go home. Okay. The basic premise of Murderbot. This is a robot. He's a security unit. That's what SEC unit stands for. And the corporation that owns him will lease him out to protect sort of groups that are exploring planets.
Like mining groups.
Yeah, they're prospecting
or
terraforming.
Yeah, and so he's their security unit. He's just there to make sure that their protocols are followed, that their protection. But also, when you read further into the book and the series, for insurance purposes, he's there to make sure that everybody follows their rules as he's protecting them. So that way, because insurance.
Well, now the group that rented him at the beginning of the first book of Murderbot, right?
Yes.
And the series Murderbot. They are Preservation Ox.
Yes.
Did they want to rent a Murderbot?
No, they did not.
Oh, not a Murderbot, but a SEC unit.
No, they did not.
The Murderbot part they got for free.
Yeah. And so when they first saw him, they were like, oh, that's expensive, because they were looking at the price, the insurance, and all this. And that's when in the series, how much is him? The one in the back. And they're like, oh, you don't want him. And then because they realize they're going to get a good deal out of it, and they're like, okay, go ahead. He's yours. But you have Pinley, who's the attorney, or I wouldn't call her an attorney, but more like...
No, she's an attorney.
Attorney, and she's getting to read all the docs and was like, cleared it, like, okay, we'll take him. So it's not like they wanted him, but...
Preservation Alliance, is that
That's their full name.
their full name? They're kind of space hippies, and most of the galaxy, the corporate rim is how they refer to it. It sounds like is run by corporations. Preservation Alliance is actually, it's a democracy. It's run by the people who live there. And it was kind of interesting for me because usually when you see hippies on a show, it's just like a signal of these people don't know what they're doing, and they're hopelessly idealistic, and it's really interesting the arc that it goes through that you see. You start off with, oh, these people are hopeless, and I'm sure that, well, Murderbot is very jaded.
Yes, he is.
I mean, one of my favorite quotes from him is, "It's surprisingly difficult to get humans not to touch things that they shouldn't touch." He's kind of a shepherd for humans, really, if you want to think about it. He's a shepherd who has no authority over the sheep. A human can tell him to set fire, to hold his hand over a flame, and he has to hold his hand over a flame. But he's still responsible for trying to keep the same stupid human
alive.
So, anyway, that's where we find ourselves. Sec Unit, what is also kind of interesting is Sec Unit hacked his module. Would you read the first line of the book?
Why, yes.
I think that is a nice segue.
Chapter 1. I could have become a mass murderer after I hacked my gunner module. But then I realized I could access the combined feed of entertainment channels carried on the company's satellites.
So this is a robot. He's been treated like crap by humans, right? But all he wants to do is watch his shows and be left alone. Reminds kind of the butler on Wedding Crashers, who's, I'm on a break, I'm watching my stories,
Yes.
That's him. Just leave me alone. And he doesn't kill humans, and he doesn't run away. And he actually voluntarily goes with these space hippies to check out this new planet and try and keep them safe.
Why does he?
Okay, so, and the reason he calls himself Murderbot is because I think the occurrence that caused him to hack his
So, because as he tells Garothan later on, he starts having little flashbacks here and there of an incident that happened where he was on a mining colony, and he's responsible for over 50 deaths, and he is not sure what happened. He knows he received a download of some type, and that after he did what he did, the company took him back, erased his memory, or they thought they fully erased his memory, put him back into the system, and put a new governor module on. So when he's sitting there, because remember he says, I'm sitting at the desk and I see the code running, and it kind of puts two and together, and I was like, why not? And he was able to hack into it and prevent the governor module from recognizing from his sec unit that the two don't interconnect.
But him being involved in the slaughter of these miners was traumatic enough that he hacked his governor module.
Correct.
In the later books and later seasons, presumably, we will see where it goes from here.
Yes.
But at least in this episode, this first season, the first book, is really about him kind of figuring out who he is and what he wants to do. We see him saving members of this Preservation Alliance team, as there's a competing group on this planet who's discovered alien tech, right?
I believe it's Delta Fall. No, that Delta Fall is the first group that they reached out to, and it was Grey Chris.
That's right.
Grey Chris.
Yeah, there's a bunch of...
There's a lot going on.
They never name his company either. It's just the company.
Yes.
It's very faceless. It's almost like an Alien, where the company is... I think they just call it the company. They don't even give it a name.
In the first movie, it was just the company, and then in the second movie, we find out Wayland...
Mutani or something like that?
I think so. I'm trying to remember because it's been years since I've seen it.
Yeah, that's all right. Anyway, it's a faceless corporation. None of us work for those. Anyway, so Murderbot is with the space hippies, and gradually, Garothan's a little alarmed by him, right?
He is the augmented human. he doesn't trust him. He doesn't feel comfortable with him. And when Murderbot shuts himself down, Garothan's able to sit there, and in the book, you know that he's been poked around a bit, and in the TV series, he is able to poke around even more and see what he remembers from that incident. But Garothan is not his biggest fan.
But he is able to save a couple members of the group, and that really endears himself to them. And these are hippies, right?
Yes.
They're open-minded, and actually robots have rights
on Preservation
Alliance on their planet. And they are kind of appalled. The real reason they didn't want to have a robot wasn't necessarily just the expense, but because they are philosophically opposed
to slavery,
because it is kind of a form of slavery, right?
Yep.
But they go ahead and do it, and Garothan, at midway through it, they find out that his governor module has been hacked. It's gone.
That's when he was injured.
But these hippies are open-minded enough, and he's also saved their life a few times, that they're willing to keep working with him.
And they point out, he's doing this out of his free will. He doesn't have to help us at this point. He could have just sat there and walked away on us, and he's stayed, protected us, and defended us. And sadly, Garothan, at that point in the series, still doesn't trust him. But everybody else in the group is trusting him.
Yeah, well, Garothan, I think he's pretty untrusting
in general,
even in the book too. That just throughout, and I remember in the book, and I think in the movie too, Murderbot just comes right out and says, "I don't like you," to Garothan. But there's a few differences. The show is very true to the book. There's only a couple of exceptions. One of them is they introduce a character who is kind of a sleeper that they plant.
A sleeper cell. She comes in. She pretends that she's like this injured person from Delt Fall, the only survivor. She gets what we'd call today sexual harassment on the flight back in the hopper.
Well, she's very much into Murderbot, right? I mean,
yes, she is.
It's Alex Skarsgård, so you can kind of see that a little bit,
totally,
right?
Totally.
Well, not for me personally, but
But she's a sleeper cell. She comes in, and she's trying to get as much information as she can, and that's the one Garothan should really be looking at.
Yeah.
But he's not, and
she turns out to be a bad guy, and she holds them all at gunpoint, shoots Garothan. And one of my favorite scenes is when he shows up at the end of that episode, and she's like got a gun to his head, and Murderbot just blows her away, just right off the bat. And it's really a brutal scene. You don't see people get their heads blown off that often, but
not that quick.
So he's just blown this woman away, and they're horrified. He's like, "I'm a hero!" And it's he can't figure it out, because from all the media that he's been consuming, he would be a hero,
yes,
right?
He would.
And actually, objectively, he is a hero, but most of us are going to have a problem with brains splattered all over us.
A little bit of trauma there.
Yeah. So that's a very funny moment in the show, I think.
I have to agree.
And
I have to agree.
And they try to figure out what's going on, right?
Yes.
And so they think that the company is trying to kill them, but what I find amusing is the way that he proves to them that it's not the company, is because it would cost the company more money.
And that's when he gets an explanation of insurance. And it was kind of fascinating how he breaks it down. Like, if they really wanted you dead, they would have poisoned the water. They would have poisoned this. They would have killed you here. They would have killed you there. That's not happening. It is more expensive for the payout. So that's why I'm here to make sure there's no insurance payout.
So something... Now, he's gone out and these other sec units that he manages to defeat, or the group manages to defeat, are trying to plant a program into his head to take over.
Yes, it is a combat... I guess with a combat module, but there was another name for it in it. And the guy in the show, it is successful, puts it into his neck, but it's not fully downloaded, because that's how the other sec units were compromised.
Well, that was the one where he shot in the show. He shot himself, right?
Yes, it was in the book. He did as well.
Yeah. Okay. And then that's how they found out that he had to,
Well, he warned them ahead of time. He said, "Look, you're going in both the series and the book." He warned them. The sec unit put something in my neck. It is downloading. I am going to hurt you. Well, I'm going to kill you. And that's when he sits there and
But that's the point too that Garathan discovers that his
governor module's
been hacked.
Correct.
But something that just occurred to me as maybe subtext, they're always talking about these sec units go crazy on and going killing sprees on a semi-regular basis. How much of that is faulty sec units, and how much of that is industrial espionage?
That's a good point.
I mean,
it happened you see how easy it was for a downloadable packet, because that was the one he ignored. Remember earlier in the scene, right when he was rescuing Andrada and Barhaway, I can't pronounce his name. Yes,
Barwaj?
And he's rescuing. Remember, he got a download, and he didn't access it because it was wanting him to go to hub systems. But medical was trying to override that, and he was paying attention to the medical side.
Well, so that also wasn't physically plugged into him too.
Exactly.
He was able to ignore.
But it was from the satellite. It was a packet to be dropped off, and he was supposed to read, and he didn't bother to read into it. He was like, "No, I'll look at it later." It was during that time when the was it Barwaj, Andrada, and Pinley. They were pulling the thing out of his neck, and they were able to as they're examining it. That's when they see in the packet. That was the order to just let them go and go after the others and take them out.
Yeah. So, anyway, and also that kind of explains why they don't just recycle these sec units when they go crazy, right? Because their programming has been
compromised.
Yeah. So, and there's a certain amount of acceptance of that being compromised.
Yep.
This is just me talking out of my head, folks. So read the book, and if you agree or disagree, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Like and subscribe, yeah.
Like button.
Thank you, off-screen
Like it.
Amy. Okay, so Amy wants to know if the sec unit is like Data and fully functional. Joyce?
Negative.
You see scenes in the show where you see him without any clothes on, and he has the same package that Alan Rickman had in Dogma, which is to say no package.
Now, if you want that specifically built in, that's a different kind of unit.
It's a pleasure unit, and he is very clear. He is very clear that sec units don't come with that stuff. That's a pleasure unit, and
comfort units.
He does not like that.
Yeah,
he is not going. He doesn't like squishy humans.
Yep.
He doesn't want to be touched by humans.
He doesn't even really like his own squishy parts.
No, he doesn't.
And he talks about when he gets injured, he's like, "Oh, I'm leaking. I hate that." Which we all kind of do.
Yes.
But most of us aren't able to still function after leaking as much as he has.
Yep, or missing as much as he has.
All right, so where does that take us to? Gray Chris tried to take him over, failed, and then they end up kind of negotiating with Gray Chris.
So they're trying to negotiate with Gray Chris, and because they know that no matter what happens, it's going to go south, so they have to have a plan. And of course, it's his plan.
It's his plan. He talks about his risk module or his risk assessment.
Yes.
And how bad it is. And all of his plans come from something he's seen on, during these thousands of hours of high quality content in the media.
Yep.
So he comes up with a suitably interesting plan at the end. And it's kind of touching because...
Well,
oh, wait, we're back. Go ahead.
Because what's the name of the leader?
Mensa. Dr. Mensa.
Dr. Mensa actually kind of comes to his rescue at the end. And I think that means a lot to him. And at one point he says, I think it's in the next book, but she's his favorite human, right?
Yes.
And so they're able to trick this other group into their own destruction, and he saves the day.
Yes.
Sorry. So, you knew there were going to be spoilers. And why haven't you watched the show yet anyway? The last episode came out at least a month ago.
Stop shaming our viewers.
Though it is on Apple Plus.
It is on Apple Plus, and it received a 95% Rotten Tomatoes rating.
But anyway, if you want to go and not know this, just rewind this by like 5 minutes and you won't have that spoiler. So, anyway, the final episode was, the way that they structured it was a little interesting to me.
It was interesting, and it was also somewhat different than the book. So he survives the incident. So we'll explain that too. So they have to go to their beacon because they have to alert the satellite that they're in trouble. He saves Mensa. Mensa saves him back, which was actually sweet. So in the book, they're able to get to their murder bot. They're able to pull him out. Lee is able to sit there and explain, don't touch him, don't do anything. We'll keep him as is. Here's the paperwork. Here's the bond. We're buying him. Done. In the series, instead, they're already taking him in and literally...
So, yeah, the corporation has him in their custody.
Yes. So where it was easier in the book for Pinley to get him out, in the series, they could not get him out.
And what did the corporation do to him?
They scrubbed him, and they also scrubbed his memory, and they tried to reconnect the governor module back to hub system.
Module.
Yeah. And he couldn't remember them, so when he'd bump into Rothy, he didn't recognize Rothy. He's already being put back out onto the streets.
They've got him on crowd control. Clearly he's a strike breaker, right?
Yes.
So there's more sort of a political spin on this. They tell him to start, messing up these miners who are on strike, and he refuses to.
Yeah.
And he actually takes a pretty good beating from those miners.
Yes, he does.
And so, because he's not useful to the corporation anymore, where do we find him at this point?
We find him back, if I remember correctly, back in the stock, and there's talk about sending him back. Was he going to be sent back out with another team?
They were going to drop him into an acid bath.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the second book. Sorry, there is a second book.
I just rewatched it the other day.
Yeah. So they're about to drop him into an acid bath and just finish him off. What I think is also interesting, though, is Garothan. You see more of Garothan's story where he at one point was an addict of some type.
Yeah, so we got that story, I think, kind of early on. They're doing that sort of like bitter and sweet game where I guess you say one thing that's sweet and then you say another thing that's bitter. And his bitter thing is that the corporation had got him purposefully addicted to these drugs, and they were using him to feed them information about Preservation Alliance. And he, Mensa was able to help him.
And he was able to redeem himself within Preservation Alliance. So he's back on her team. But what I thought was interesting was like towards that last episode or 2 episodes, you see him come out and think, if I'm redeemable, so is Murderbot. In the sense that what he did, he's got no memory of it. It's not like he wanted to do it. It's not like he forced, this is different. And so he goes behind everyone's back, goes to his old dealer,
who works for the corporation,
and says, I need you to help me to do something.
And he's able to get into the memory banks because the corporation, the biggest thing they do, and stop me if this sounds familiar, is
they collect data and they keep it.
They data mine. So they don't just delete his memory, they download it first into their system, and they're going to data mine that for everything that's said, on these jaunts that these people go to these different planets, so they can data mine that and find a way to make money off of it. That does not sound like any big corporations that we have today at all. Our corporations now are far too ethical for that kind of behavior.
Heavy sarcasm.
But anyway, so his memories, Garothan is sure that his memories are in here someplace. How does he find those memories?
He attaches himself to the computer system and starts looking, and he happens to see Sanctuary Moon as well.
He does a search for Sanctuary Moon specifically,
and he finds it.
And he finds, here's 500 episodes of Sanctuary Moon.
Well, thank God for Sanctuary Moon. That's all you can say.
Yeah. So, and he takes it and downloads it into his head. So he's overwhelmed. He's sick. And so I had a little bit of a flashback to Johnny Mnemonic when he downloaded that to his head. It's like, dude, don't you know what that can do to you? Haven't you seen Johnny Mnemonic? Anyway. So
Arata and Rothy find our favorite Murderbot, pay whatever bond is left, get him over to their place.
Well, it's Pinley who's able to get a court order preventing them from
acifying him.
Yeah, and so then they end up buying him.
As is.
Well, that's all he's going to go for,
Yeah.
right? He's been through a lot. And
They bring him back to the hotel room.
and Mensa is going to be his guardian.
And that's where we see Garathan, who looks sick.
Yeah, he's...
And for a second there, Mensa, I think a couple of them were thinking, oh no, he's
No,
back.
she came right out and said
Yeah.
she thought that he'd relapsed.
Yeah, and it turns out he's like, no, we need to, I got his memories, and let's start the down.
Yeah, and there's a scene that's kind of heartbreaking where he's looking at all of them, and you can see the heads-up display.
Yeah.
And it shows, that he doesn't know who those are. Unknown subject.
Yeah.
Subject.
Oh, yeah.
And Mensa was hoping that his organic parts would be able to remember them, but there's just not enough there. So
Yeah.
until Garathan comes in to save the day, it's looking like our boy is done.
Yeah. Which, when I first saw that, I was kind of like, that's not how the season ended in the book. You know?
I know.
I
And
was
it's like, they had to put us through another, half hour to an hour of
emotional roller coaster.
That's right, for that final episode. But anyway, it turns out that Dr. Mensa is going to be his guardian on Preservation Alliance. Watching it really closely, it's interesting that even someone like Dr. Mensa is still kind of judgmental about what he does, or, you can do anything you want to, except be a Murderbot or a sec unit. It's
I don't know if it was judgmental or if she was just thinking that you have so many other options. You have so much to life. Don't just do what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Like, open your horizons. That's how I took it as was you can be something completely different other than just a sec unit.
Which also seems kind of judgy about what you've been doing.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you've been forced to do what you've been doing. So I can kind of...
I can see that, and I get where she's coming from because she feels like he could be...
I think most of us would come from there.
Yeah.
You can do anything but doing anything you want is scary as hell.
It is.
I mean, we got the whole world out there. I mean, that's like graduating from college or high school. It's like, what am I going to do?
Exactly.
I'm going to make a crazy decision. I'm going to join the Navy, or I'm going to go to law school. That's when you make your bad decisions.
I can see that. Totally.
So what does Murderbot do after this?
So Murderbot gets his memories back, and he likes the idea, what their idea of freedom is, but he wants a taste of real freedom. And so he quietly packs human clothes, gets whatever he can get for and he's like already looking for packets to get ID, to get this, whatever helps him blend in with humans. And he walks right out, buys a ticket, and flies off. By the way, there's a second season that's been renewed.
And that makes me very happy because
Yes.
the second book is actually my favorite.
I enjoyed the second book. There's also I don't want to spoil anybody because it'll be a hardcore
or maybe
spoiler.
it's the third book. The second and third books are excellent.
They are, but in the second book, you see him interacting with others, and it's actually it's interesting. Put it that way.
He finds other non-human companionship.
Yes,
which is very really cool.
But I do like. I think what kind of like. Have you ever seen the movie WALL-E? It's a Disney movie.
Yeah, a long time ago.
And so what I find fascinating, because I was thinking about it watching the very last episode, how in Preservation Ox, they already see him because remember, he took off the mask, he humanized himself to his team or to the team. And for them, it changed their perspective on who he is, what he is, and how they treated him.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me years ago watching WALL-E how that little robot had the cutest little facial expressions, the cutest little facial expressions, cutest little things that he did that almost humanized him, even though we know he's not human.
Yeah.
And just how, you cared about him. So to see it again and how Martha Wells wrote how they ended up caring for him just from that taking the mask off.
Yeah, you wonder if he didn't take that mask off, whether they would have ever
made it
really
out of there.
Made that connection with him.
Well, made the connection with him. Would they have seen him other than as that big, scary sec unit and treat him differently? But that mask made a huge difference with him taking it off.
Well, so Amy asked if he wears the mask in book 2. And he does not.
No.
He's trying to disguise himself as, like Garathan's what do they call
Augmented human.
Augmented human. Yeah, he's got like a port. He's kind of Johnny Mnemonic, actually.
Yeah.
So he tries to disguise himself as an augmented human. and I really and that's why I like I'm really happy we're going to get another season, because that's where I think you really get to start seeing that character development.
Yeah.
In
and that's what I think was so great about how she wrote the first season, how she wrote in the book, how she wrote in the first book, and then how the series ran with it. They got her input. She was a consultant,
a producer, right?
Yeah.
Was
I
that her
think
title?
so.
Consulting producer.
and it was just nice to see how they character build. They did a really good job building his character. And you're obviously going to see some of these characters from Preservation Ox in future seasons, hopefully. But it was just nice to see how you're prepared for that second season to just dive in.
And once again, this is one of those advantages that streaming has over other, media, over movies, is you've got a longer time to tell the story, so you can be a little bit more, you can go into more depth as you develop the characters. You can take your time a little bit more. So that's just where streaming kind of has a real
and
advantage
I'm
over the movies.
so glad this was not made into a movie. I am so happy.
They would have had to drop a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, look how it's just a novella, and they were able to make 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So just I'd hate to see them turn that into a movie.
I mean, The Lord of the Rings took 3 movies, and so did The Hobbit, which is laughable if you hold up The Hobbit next to The Lord of the Rings.
That dwarf elf romance.
And that was, yeah, Amy just talked about the dwarf elf romance, which is not cringy at all. Ugh,
I'm here for.
God. I haven't even rewatched The Hobbit. It was so freaking bad. I mean, the Lord of the Rings movies, God knows I'm not happy with those, but I have rewatched them once or twice. But no, The Hobbit was just no. And I was going to watch the second season of Rings of Power.
Oh,
I watched
what?
the first.
Really?
We watched the first season together.
I know, but I know how Amy feels about that, because I know when she watches, she'll sit there and text me like, "Oh my God, he's complaining the whole way through."
Oh, really?
I just got outed and I'm not even.
Yeah, off screen.
Sorry.
Amy, she was the one who put it on.
But you do admit that you'd hate watch it.
Well, I that's what I did for the first season. And we watched the first episode of the second season. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I really wanted to a couple years ago at Comic-Con when they were doing the panel. For
I
Rings of Power.
remember.
It was on a Friday. If it had been on a Saturday, I would have gotten in line, because I have one burning question that I would love to ask the showrunners: is why didn't you hire writers that liked the books?
Mind you, Neil loves the books. Loves the books. And I
Love it.
respect that. I totally respect that. And that's one of the reasons why I really loved this series, was how close they kept to the novella. It was really nice to see.
It really kept with the spirit of the book. It did make a few additions, but they were very much in keeping with, I think, the spirit and themes of the books. Anyway, so have we beaten this dead horse enough? So anyway, I would recommend Murderbot to just not anybody, but I think
I took a friend to Murderbot. I was supposed to take one friend because, like I said, I was lucky enough to go to a Collider viewing. So if you are interested in seeing movies or TV episodes, so redundant, streaming episodes early, there's a gentleman by the name of Stephen Weitraub. He runs a program called Collider. If he tweets it out, I'm sorry, that's right there. X.
Sorry.
if he X's it out.
Yeah, if he puts it out, he does free viewings. And so I was lucky enough, June 12th, 2025, we got to see episode 4 and episode 5, and we got to see 5 before it even aired, with a couple of the cast members and the director, writer, showrunners for the series, which was, let me write it down because I know I forget the gentlemen's names, Paul and Chris White. The interview was great. And I was able to bring a friend of mine who's actually a friend of our group, and she enjoyed it as well. It was a really good series. So I recommend it. I also recommend the book. If you have the time, read the first novella.
So it does not take a lot of time. These books, the long ones are like 200 pages.
Yeah, this one was like 160, maybe. Yeah, about like 160 something. I was able to read this.
And they just came out with a new one just in the last couple months, I think, too.
Well, the newest book's coming out next year, which is, let's see, Let me see if I can find it here. Yep, Platform Decay will be out next year. Her last book was System Collapse, and that one I think came out in 23.
All right, folks. So that's our recommendation. All right. So, and for those of you who don't know Joyce, Amy and I first met Joyce at Comic-Con 2016. Amy she's got a fangirl website for Benedict Cumberbatch called the Cumber Collective. And Joyce is very active. She's a Hiddlestoner. So Tom Hiddleston plays Loki. She's disgustingly huge fan of him.
I admit it.
But so Amy, and I don't know who else she arranged a Hiddlebatch meetup where you had Hiddlestone and Cumberbatch fans kind of come together and meet. This was, I don't know whether it's Thursday night or Friday night, but
I believe it was a Friday night at the Hilton Bayfront.
So it was at the Fire Grill outside the Hilton Bayfront. And she's telling stories. Joyce is telling stories. You may have noticed she can talk a little bit, though. I think I've talked much more than she has at this thing.
That's okay. This is my first time ever doing this. So.
She's telling stories, and we're all just cracking up. So we were going around the circle introducing ourselves, and, Amy introduced herself. I'm Amy. I'm the admin of the Cumber Collective. And, Joyce, and I think Raziel was there. And,
yep.
And then it came to me, and I'm like, and I introduced myself as the president of the San Diego chapter of the Taylor Swift fan club, which, I mean, if you know me, you know that's not true. But also, Taylor Swift was not real popular with the Hiddlestoners because she was dating their boy, Tom. And they wanted someone with a little bit more gravitas, or I don't know what.
I think more towards, a lot of us didn't see it lasting just because we just didn't see it lasting.
So what would be interesting is to see a fight between the Hiddlestoners and the Swifties. I mean, there's so many more Swifties out there, but I think it might be like a Spartans versus the Persians sort of thing. Because the Hiddlestoners are fucking crazy too.
Look, I admire her business hustle. I'm just not a fan of her music.
Yeah.
Just not a fan.
I think she's probably a pretty good person. Her music's not my thing anyway. But anyway, let's get to our questionnaire.
Go ahead.
So our nerd questionnaire. So, first question: what's a movie that you love?
The Crow.
Oh, that's a good one.
It had an outstanding soundtrack. I have never heard a soundtrack that fit a movie like that since.
See, there's only one other soundtrack that I might put ahead of it.
Which one?
Singles.
Okay, I can sit there and
those
say
two
maybe.
I would put as 1A and 1B.
Yes.
Those are both great soundtracks.
Very.
What's a book that you love?
Fahrenheit 451 from Ray Bradbury.
That's a great book.
To me, that still holds the test of time.
Yeah, everyone should be required to read that.
Yes.
What is a TV show you love?
Okay, I could not pick one, so it's 3. X-Files, to me, that was like the epitome of like just investigation. It just had everything you liked. And Dana, I don't know a girl, so I'm Gen X, so I don't know a girl my age who did not want to be Dana Scully.
Well, yeah, my wife did. Amy did.
Yeah, so totally loved her. Surprisingly, Murderbot, like I really loved it.
That's a great show.
And then Loki season 2.
Loki season 2 was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good choices there. And X-Files, I think, was kind of the start of that long-form story where you have a story arc that is more than just 1 or 2 episodes.
Yes, 10 years and 2 movies.
Yep. Okay, so what was a TV show you loved as a kid?
Addams Family and Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan's Island
Was great. I mean, a 3-hour tour, and they had all those freaking clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great show. What was a present you loved?
As a kid, Stephen King books.
Okay.
Loved those. And as an adult, A Time to Kill was my favorite book.
A Time to Kill. That was Grisham, right?
Yep.
Okay. I think that was his first book.
Yep.
Name something you participate in that you love.
SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con. But it's not just the con itself. It's seeing friends because we all get together. It's also being able to sit in panels for certain shows that you love, and you get to hear the creators, the writers, talk about how they love their job, and you get to kind of the taste of what's behind the scenes, and just meeting other artists there who draw the art and just do all sorts of stuff. It's just a blast. It's like nerd camp for a week. You can't. And the thing I used to love as a kid as well is I used to draw. I used to draw a lot.
Right on. What's a game that you love?
This one I kind of left empty because it just, I don't know. I mean, I remember being a kid, I loved Clue, then D&D, and as an adult for games, I loved Gears of War.
Oh.
Because I could chase my sons around in Gears of War and saw them in half with that special gun that they used.
Right on.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah.
If you could have any profession, real or fantasy, what would it be?
Real behavioral profiler, fantasy high priestess for Hecate.
You know, I think you're that already. If you could spend a week in a fantasy world, what would you choose?
If you remember the movie Legend with Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise and
Mia Farrow, I think.
Not Mia Farrow. Mia.
Oh,
she was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
And she was also in Life of Chuck, the most recent Tom Hiddleston movie.
That's right.
She was in that movie. I love that movie, Legend.
Mia Sarah. That's
Sarah.
right. Yeah. Thank you, Off-Screen Amy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that was, and had Tim Curry in it too. There were a few
the
actors in that.
Yeah.
If you could have a drink with any celebrity, living or dead, who would you choose?
Living, it'd be Gillian Anderson.
All right.
And dead, so for me, she's a celebrity. Sandra Day O'Connor. She was the first female judge put to the Supreme Court, handpicked by Reagan. But the things she ruled on were not the things that Reagan wanted her to rule on.
She was pretty centrist.
Very.
No, she was a solid Supreme Court judge.
Yes, she was. And
she's never mind. We won't go there.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, Joyce. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for providing some high quality content.
It was fun. My first time on a podcast. Not used to this.
Let's see your T-shirt. She is tired of the whole concept of humans right now. My T-shirt is introverted but willing to discuss Sanctuary Moon. So
what are we talking about next?
What are we talking about? It's going to be Halloween flavored?
I was thinking Stephen King.
Okay, Stephen King novels next week.
And
adaptations. Except we're not going to talk about The Last Stand, because The Last Stand adaptation, because I couldn't get through more than a couple episodes
How
of
about
it.
the other stand-up?
I liked that one. That's Off-Screen Amy again. She's asking me about that. But anyway, so we're going to do Stephen King next week. Joyce, alas, will not be with us next week, and Amy will be back on screen.
But that's okay.
But we will see Joyce again.
God willing, in Nerds Over 42, The Quest for More Money. The quest for any money.
So please like and subscribe for the love of God.
All right. Adios, Nerdmigos.
Bye.